Have you mastered every musical instrument there is and learned Portuguese from start to finish so far?
No, but I'm making steady progress on all three of those, Doug.
Attaboy. Um, I guess the first question is, how odd is it to have a training camp when you've had 4 months of inactivity from your players? And what are you seeing and what are you expecting from them?
I mean, obviously it's a different feel, Doug, right? It's, the rules and stuff about how many players and coaches are on the floor and at each basket. It's feels like we're going to basketball camp a little bit, right? We go over there at 8:30 and we stay there all day because we got limits on how many players and how many coaches can be just one player at a basket. So we work the gym for a good hour 20 minutes, and then cleaning comes in, and that's a little break time in between there. 4 more guys come in, we do it, and that just kind of goes on all day. So it's kind of like a basketball camp feel. We're in the dead of summer too, so that kind of makes it feel like basketball camp too. But as far as what I've seen is it's been great. The players look fantastic. I mean, absolutely. When you see them with the eyeball test, they look great. Their attitudes have been also fantastic, and it feels like we're in really early stages of kind of getting back going, because it's such a limited one-on-one skill work individual type thing we're doing now. But everybody's in a good frame of mind.
How easier is it easier because you have basically a veteran group of players who have been through extensive basketball pressure? Is it easier that way to get them back up to speed quickly, or is it so weird it doesn't matter?
Well, I think that I would say I kind of came in here open-minded. I didn't know if we were going to be not really in the right frame of mind or whatever, and whatever it was, I was going to kind of deal with it. But I would say I'm pleasantly surprised with the frame of mind. I'm pleasantly surprised with the conditioning. And I just think you got a bunch of guys, Doug, that like have a high care factor. They love to play. They're and I just think there's a strong love of the game there for a lot of these guys.
Great, thanks, sir.
Yep. It's hot there. It looks hot there behind you, Doug, today.
I know it's beautiful today here in Southern Ontario.
We're gonna go next to Mike Ganter from the Toronto Sun.
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Good, Mike. You look good. Haircut.
Haven't left the house much. Wondering what, in terms of the goal, just for this time while you guys are down there before you enter the bubble, what do you like? Is this supposed to be a very productive time, or is this more just a sort of, I don't know, can you get a lot done?
Well, I think you probably understand the obvious goal is any way we can do it, get to Orlando safely.
Yeah.
Right. And then you start adding some layers of icing on the cake, and guys get their legs back, and there's maybe a few guys that need to get in the weight room and get that kind of rhythm back. There's certainly a high volume, shooting, et cetera. So, conditioning, skill, feel for the ball, et cetera, as much as that as you can advance, as long as you're, again, with your basic primary goal in mind of just getting to Orlando safely,
Yeah, and sort of a follow just on Marc Gasol himself, coming back, the thinner, skinnier Marc. What more is he capable of doing now? Like, what have you seen from him at this point?
The chiseled Marc. He's cut up. He looks great. Listen, you guys know how highly I think of him already. Yeah. Right? He is such a great player. I think it's motivating, fantastic. I don't know, maybe he is leaner Marc and gets him to more rebounds, gets him to better defensive positions more quickly. Not that those are a problem, but maybe he's going to produce more in those things. Maybe his legs stay in there late in the game for some three balls. I don't know if we can improve it, if he can improve his conditioning, improves him as a player, then that's going to be a super added bonus for us.
All right. Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome.
I'm going to go next to Stephen Lung from Sportsnet.
Hey, Coach, what's going on?
Hi, Stephen. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Well, you mentioned how like the team looks to be in great shape. Norm was just saying the exact same thing, but how much is the team missing without being able to kind of practice 5-on-5 and work on those kind of like real basketball skills right now?
Well, I think everyone always says that you can never really get in basketball shape unless you're playing basketball, and that means getting up and down the floor, 5-on-5. So, I'm sure some of the conditioning is still going to be trailing once we do be able to get back to 5-on-5 work. There's a lot of team rhythm things that I'm always talking about that are gonna have some rust on them, right? Just spacing and passing, just passing and catching even. I would imagine there'll be some tiredness in the legs from shooting. But I don't know. They're taking a lot of volume shots, and maybe that won't be as bad as people would expect. But I just say conditioning and rhythm would be the main thing, Steven.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Next, we got Eric Corrine from The Athletic.
Nick, what's going on?
Hi, Eric. How are you?
I'm all right. I know you're only at the beginning of this thing, but I mean, you have a young kid. There's several others on the roster with young families, and your plan is to be there for a long time. How much thought have you guys as a staff put into keeping things fresh and trying to, not let the monotony and the homesickness, for the lack of a better word, take over? I assume there are only so many ping pong games you guys could play.
Yeah, I mean, good question, Eric. I think first of all, the first week's been like, man, gone by in a snap of a finger. So that's a really good sign. The days, again, I'm not sure it's moving that way for everybody. But for the coaches, we get up pretty early and we go to the gym pretty early and we're there all day, and you come back and you eat, and it's about time to get off your feet and get ready for the next day. So the days go by pretty quickly. But yeah, we're trying to mix in some days off. We're trying to, mix in a lot of different activities as much as we can do under the conditions, right? We had a barbecue the other day. It's kind of nice, takes an evening and was good. There's ping pong, there's pool, there's a few other things we're trying to mix in there too. But I think again, I don't really sense any much anxiety or people worrying about, man, this is going to be a long time. The language has been positive. We've already mixed in some off days and trying to keep them fresh, and they seem really good. You can ask me that again in a month if you want.
I probably will.
But something I think again, I've said that a lot, that how much I missed coaching these guys, right? And I mean, I just sense that these guys like to be around each other and they like to play, and the attitude is really good.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
Going to go next to Josh Lewenberg from TSN.
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Hi, Josh. Good.
Now that you've seen the schedule for the 8 regular season games, what are your impressions of it? And then given I'm sure you have a number of different priorities you're going to be trying to work in terms of getting guys back in shape and winning games, how do you plan on approaching those 8 games?
Well, I think that TBD a little bit, right? I want to see where we are conditioning wise. I would imagine, early on we're playing lots of people in rotation. First couple, get everybody out there, get some conditioning, go 2 or 3, maybe the middle couple, ramp up the key guys to somewhat, maybe not playoff minutes, but inching up that way, and then maybe depending on where we're at, pull back. That would be my initial game plan, but obviously, the ball goes up and everything changes usually. But that's kind of my general thought right now, Josh. And as far as who we're playing, I like it. I like the schedule. I think it's great to see the Lakers again and Milwaukee again, just to get a feel for them again. And I think we're playing really quality teams. I think, every team we got is a playoff team. So that's going to be, obviously those are good teams. So I like it.
Thanks, Nick.
Yep.
Next, we're going to go back to Doug Smith from the Toronto Star.
Hey, Nick, sorry, one more thing. We know that the players are going to be wearing messages on their jersey, and Black Lives Matter will be printed on the courts.
Yep.
What can and what are coaches going to do to keep the social justice message going during these games, given the whole world will be watching you on TV? What's the coach's role in that?
Yeah. First of all, Doug, the coaches, we've been meeting, we've met several times, the 30 head coaches, and we're meeting every week, every Monday, to continue to progress on a lot of things. As you can see, a bunch of things have happened. You might have saw that Atlanta is using their arena as a voting station.
Yeah.
One of the big pushes. You might have saw the article quickly mention that Jim Sand and I are pushing voters abroad. It's a 650,000 to 1 million expats living in Canada, and we're going to try to get out a message on our platform of registering them to vote in the upcoming election, which will also get worldwide to all U.S. citizens across there. There's also a plan to hopefully give us a chance in our press conferences to speak about the issues rather than just basketball or house practice or how was the game. And it's they're formulating kind of rotating that a few coaches on each day are going to talk about a historical perspective or what happened. This happened on this day in history or something to, again, keep the message going each day.
The voters abroad thing, that's a new initiative, obviously. What do you think you and Jim can do across the country of Canada to get that, to hammer that message home? Is it registering voters in your arenas, your clinics? Like, what are the specifics to it?
Yeah, I think, Doug, like with anything, it's probably a really old initiative that's hard to get the message out, and we're hoping to help. We're hoping to help raise awareness, right, and use our platforms over everything, and then it goes back to that platforms, which is their platforms, which is worldwide. We'll just do some PSA type things, Doug, and that'll involve a few of the players. We've already asked a few of the players to be involved, and just directing them where to go, how to register it, and that's the main thing. Direct them to the website and get their registration going and get the wheels in motion, and then there'll be a couple other steps once we get closer.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thanks.
Next, we're going to go to Tim Bontemps from ESPN.
Hello, Nick. Nice hat.
Oh, Tim, you got a haircut.
I did. Don't have much of a choice in the quarantine.
Aerodynamic.
That's the goal. A lot of people talked about the chemistry you guys have. You mentioned it before. You're pleasantly surprised everybody coming in. Is part of that the fact that you guys have not only are you trying to defend your title, but you're obviously one of the teams got a chance to maybe win this thing, and there is something to play for, as opposed to, like you said, maybe other teams that are going down there with, maybe different expectations than that?
I would imagine, Tim, that helps, right? But it's not. It's been really a pleasant thing for this season. I really thought that winning the title would be a heavier burden to carry from the start of the season through, and our guys just don't talk very much about it. I really think they genuinely care, one, about winning. They're very, again, professional and mindful of their own careers, and I think it's a group with great camaraderie. Simple as that. Simple as that. I really think that's it. And it's like I said, times or more, it's an enjoyable group to be around, an enjoyable group to coach, and they compete, right? They love to compete.
You guys were on pace to win 59 games with, virtually everybody in your core group except I think for OG missing a month or more. I know you wouldn't have preferred to have a 4-month layoff because of all this, but are you excited for what you're capable of doing, assuming you can get into this thing with that core 7-8 guys healthy and ready to go in terms of, going up against anybody?
Yes, I think we haven't been able to play, I'd say our top 8 or 9 very often this year, as you mentioned. I think the moments we were close, maybe missing 1 or 2 or maybe 2 games that we did actually have anybody, it really felt like a luxury. It felt like a luxury to have all those guys there. And again, we may not be the greatest team in the world, but we are really hard to beat. If we're healthy, we're really hard to beat, and that's a good characteristic.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
Going to go next to Vivek Jacob from Complex.
Hey, Nick. I'm just curious about how much your time in Toronto has informed you about racial injustice in Toronto and Canada.
Well, I'll tell you what, Vivek, when all this stuff went down, we had a lot of calls with the players and the coaches, and I remembered right away asking Jamal McGlure about, he's somebody that grew up in Toronto, spent a lot of his time in the States, and obviously is back, and I asked him to explain to me the difference. I know the difference. I can feel the difference. I think most people can, but I asked him why. Why was there a big difference? So, listen, I'm continuing to educate myself, but his historical perspective and his own personal experience was great insight for me. And I think that was probably the key to a lot of these things. Like a lot of the players shared stories of personal, situations that happened to them, and I'd never heard some of those stories. There's something that people weren't sharing, and now they were. And there's a level of, again, education and even closeness when you're hearing, some of the stuff these guys have gone through. But I think that's it. We're continuing to have these conversations. We had a great meeting a few days ago with the entire team again, and if you really want me to be open and honest about this, the players don't love us calling them downstairs at 7:00 for a meeting ever. They'd rather be doing something else, and they're usually trying to hurry along and get on to their next thing. And 3 or 4 or 5 minutes into these meetings, that all goes away. They settle in, they start speaking and sharing. The meetings last a long time. There's no rushing. I don't know if I'm connecting all those dots for you, but it's really something to see.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to go to our Yaron Weitzman from the Bleacher Report.
Hey, Nick. Nice to meet you. Bad transition, much less important question. But you mentioned the kind of the weight of being defending champions and how that's been less than you expected. So I don't know. I guess with the layoff, does it still feel like you guys are defending a championship? As a coach, does it feel like it's like a new off season, a different season, or can you, I guess, put into words how strange this whole journey has been?
Well, it's certainly been strange,
yeah.
Right? And the first few days here felt strange. But again, like a lot of things, you kind of get a rhythm and you get used to it a little bit, right? And you try to make the most of it. I don't know. I guess I don't really see much of defending the title. I think I try to look at what's in front of us. We got a good team who honestly believes they got a chance, and certainly knows, like I said before, really hard to beat 4 times, right? And I think that they believe in themselves, and I think they also believe there's still a bunch of ceiling. I mean, we were playing really well. We played really well this season. We were playing really well. I think won 4 out of 5 on the West Coast trip when this thing hit, and we're rolling, and we weren't healthy. So I think everybody's anxious to see us healthy, and hopefully we can stay healthy and see what our ceiling can be with this team this year.
Thank you.
Yep.
Cool. Next, we're going to go to Joe Varden from The Athletic.
Hi, Nick. Kind of along those same lines, throughout the course of a season, so October to March in this case, you build habits, you build an identity, a rotation, and then this layoff is pretty much akin to an off season. So when you start up again next month, can you expect to be playing the same and to be the same team with so much time in between?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you're, like you said, it's going to be like going into a new season. You know, we went into this last season obviously missing a couple really key pieces to our team. So you were kind of, you know, you were selling opportunity to a few guys. There's some opportunities for some growth and even usage and chances and things like that for some guys. But you weren't sure how that's all going to turn out. Could this guy go to there and this guy go to there and this guy, you know, unfortunately, you know, Pascal took a jump. I think Fred, Norm, Serge is playing amazing. OG's been fabulous. So, you know, that opportunity there in the middle, you know, the 3-4 spot, there's a lot of guys that have taken it. I expect, you know, to kind of come back into this to see, okay, what are we going to look like here coming back? But we also got kind of a little cheat sheet to know there is a place we've been with this group, right? And so I think that if it isn't all holding hands and skipping rope at the beginning, we're going to have to just stick with it and see if we can get back to a level. And again, I think there's another level this group can go.
Thanks.
Yep.
And our last question today is going to go to Kayla Gray from TSN.
Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Hey, good.
I mean, I want to use frustrating, but I don't think that's the appropriate word here. But with coronavirus and kind of taking a step back and sitting in really the listening chair around racial injustices, how has this process been for you? And can you think of a time in your career where you've had something similar, where basically you just had to sit back and just let life play out?
You know what? Really good question, man. It's been heavy. Man, it's been heavy. That's all I can say. I mean, it was heavy early, thinking, man, there was a lot of good happening. There was a lot of guys' careers taking off. There was a lot of guys, you know, there were so many scenarios that just get halted. And you know, I kind of remember when the pandemic hit, the first thing I thought of was let's step back here for a bit. Let's step back for a week or 10 days. Let's let the guys breathe. Let's let them process here what's happened, right? So that was heavy and getting through some of that. And then the racial injustice stuff was twice as heavy. You know, it was again, I mentioned, you know, it was getting these guys together and long calls, lots of silence, but lots of sharing, lots of just heavy air, man. Even though we're all on computer screens, you could feel the weight on everybody with it. And it has. That's all I can say is it's been heavy to deal with, and you just try to listen, give them a platform to share with each other, lean on each other. Like, you know, what do? You lean on your family, you lean on your team. We try to take care of each other, you know, check in, see how we are. And then try to do something, you know, try to do something to affect both of those things. You know, I think a lot of our guys were active in helping in both situations and we'll continue to do so.